Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You are now listening to American gypC Podcast. I am your host, Classic, and I'm here with my co-host,
gypC, and today we have a special guest, Makda Alemseged. She is the owner of Jigna Lifestyle brand. Welcome to the show, Makda.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, especially on this day. It is our 31st Independence Day for Eritrea, so I'm absolutely honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will say I get this. I'm also from Eritrea, as you guys know, and a lot of people don't know where that is.
That's right.
Did you grow up in Eritrea or?
Actually, I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
But it is a 45-minute flight.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty close.
You're there before you even finish your meals.
Yeah.
So we would fly as a family. We would be there almost every other summer break when school's out. Then we get to spend like about 2 months out of the year there.
Okay.
And then I studied 2 years junior high, and that was a completely different experience in a good way. That allowed me to get to know my country on a deeper level, the people, the history on a deeper level. You know, it's different when you live in there versus visiting.
Did you pick up did you pick up on the language? Were you speaking it your whole life? Or?
I was, because we grew up speaking Tirgrinya at home in our household. Okay. And so we were fluent before we even visited home at that time.
Wow.
It's a blessing in a sense because, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. We spoke Tirgrinya in our household. You're exposed to Arabic once you step out of the house. And then we study strictly in English because, you know, as a foreigner, you go to a private school, but it's also an international school. And so the whole curriculum is in English. So it's a great way to raise kids to be bilingual, like in a very efficient yet effortless way, I'll say.
Yeah, that's kind of similar for me. Like I grew up in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and so like my parents are Eritrean. So in the house before I went to school, I spoke Tigrinya, and then of course, you have to use Amarinya every now and then when you go out. But when I went to school, I went to like Indian school or some international school.
Exactly.
So like you have to speak English or you're learning things in English. And then the people speak Amharic. So it's like.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can relate.
Yeah. I feel like with Tigrinya, it's one of those languages you have to learn like super early on, or else you can't pronounce things properly.
It's
like the
tough.
Difficult sounds that you make.
Yes.
That's like impossible when you learn it as an adult.
I agree. Being exposed to Tigrinya at a younger age would make it easier, but then I also believe firmly that that's true for any other language, like even the less difficult ones to pick up. You just, you know, your brain is a sponge at that, you know, younger age, between 2 and 5 or so. And so I know kids, like my goddaughter was exposed to 4 different languages growing up in her own household, also in Saudi. And by the time she spoke all 4 of them, which is Amharinya, Tigrinya, Arabic, and English. But because she was so young and couldn't really identify the difference between the languages, she would communicate, and the sentence would contain 3 different.
Yes,
but it makes sense.
Yes, and it's funny. It was the same for me too, and my sister does that all the time as well.
Right.
And it's like you don't notice it because everybody around you speaks multiple languages, so it's like they understand.
Yes.
So you're like mixing up words, like it would end with one language and it begin and end with different languages.
It's fascinating though.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Saudi? Did you like it?
Growing up in Saudi, loved it as a child. I think it's a great place to raise children because, you know, your innocence is not stripped away from you. You're not exposed to a lot of things at a younger age. Like you're able to remain a child and like maintain your innocence for quite a bit. I love it because the lifestyle has like it's very well balanced between work and home, and so you spend, you know, enough time to share meals with your family every day and things like that, which I think is really important. But then once you get into your young adult age, say you've graduated high school, and if you're lucky enough as a foreigner, even college, and then you hit a plateau. There's not a lot of, or back then at least when I grew up, there wasn't a lot of opportunities. It was very limiting. And so as a young adult, I would say no, but having grown up there and everything that I was exposed to and what my childhood was like, it was absolutely great. And I'm grateful for the experiences. That's one of the main reasons how I ended up in the United States as well, because you have to keep in mind that Saudi Arabia is a highly patriarchal society. It's also an Islamic state. It's much more liberal now because they've opened themselves up to the public, and they're allowing tourism that wasn't even. It was very difficult to access when I was living there, and so being a foreigner and a woman and a Christian, you have these layers of oppression that eventually start to work against you. Yeah. And so it was very limiting in that sense. But I will say that to that point, it's very important to have influential people in your life that are pouring into you, because when you're growing up in that type of an environment, it's very easy for you to succumb to those oppressions and to limit yourself and your beliefs and your capabilities and things like that. And so for me, I'm very grateful. My father at a really young age would constantly tell me, like, I was very impressionable, super young, even before school, like, you got to work hard, but there's nothing that you can't achieve. Like, I remember him telling me very vividly, you can be the first female president of Eritrea. And when you're that impressionable, and you're hearing these things from somebody that you don't know who you are at that age or what you're about, right? And so when you hear that from somebody that you love and respect and look up to, you believe that automatically. And so I internalized those things, and it took me very, very far. Like, I was able, despite those barriers, I was able to break barriers when women weren't even being hired in Saudi Arabia. Like, I was able to break into certain industries and things like that. So I will always stress the importance of having good influences in your life and positive influences in your life that breathe life into you, because then you don't become a product of your environment.
Yeah. And just having the mindset, because that's so important. Because
correct,
if you believe it, it's like there's nothing that can get in your way.
Absolutely, and that's been, I've lived by that, and that's been true for me. So if I can do it, anybody else can do it.
Yeah, growing up, my mom was when we were in Ethiopia, like, she was that strong woman, had everything together. So I kind of internalized that as well growing up. So I had this entitlement of I can do anything.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. And do you feel like it takes you very far?
Yes.
Yes. When you have that mindset, right?
Yeah. It's like something you can't replace almost, or you can't.
I agree.
I don't know. It's weird.
I agree. Yeah. It's if it's instilled in you at a younger age, not to say that you cannot cultivate that mindset later in life, but your life will be a lot more smoother. Like, and then you just, your self-esteem is higher, your confidence level is there, and no matter what, there'll always be naysayers and things like that, but you become, you just, how do I say, like, very firm in your beliefs, and that's all that matters, and that's your driving factor. So you kind of become unshakable in with those outside factors.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people, you would feel that a lot of people are raised like that, which is not the case. I grew up as a cellist, and from the age of 5, I've been told, you're going to be great. You're going to be great. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to do that. So, everybody isn't raised. Like, you don't get that type of motivation depending on what you're doing. You have some people that are told you're not going to be shit. You're not going to be shit. You're not
That's
gonna
right.
be, and that's the difference. You do have those people out there that have to fight to get that, basically demon out of their head.
Correct.
And to believe in themselves and know that, okay, I can break any boundary no matter what's put in front of me.
That's right.
Yeah. Sometimes that lights a fire too. I've had people tell me I can't do something, and then that lights a fire.
Yes, and I can relate to that. That absolutely was a thing for me in Saudi as well. Like, it didn't discourage me, but it definitely lights a fire. And then I cannot describe, like, the level of satisfaction that comes with when you've proven them wrong.
Yeah.
So it could be a healthy challenge if you choose to look at it that way too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you decide to move to the U.S.? And did you think about other countries, or is that like the first country you wanted to move to?
I did. So when I felt like I hit a plateau living in Saudi, career-wise and things like that. And I've always been a very ambitious person, so I don't like being limited. And so it was very apparent for me that in order to further grow and expand, I needed to move out of the country. And so I was trying to decide between Europe or the U.S. And one of the bigger goals for me at the time was completing my higher education, meaning university, because the opportunities in Saudi as a foreigner were very limited. And that was a personal goal of mine. And so I decided to move to the States. There were a couple of factors that kind of moved into play. My fiancé at the time was also he was African American, and he was from the U.S., and I have family in the U.S. It would be less barriers to work through in terms of, like, if I moved to Europe, let's say, I would have to pick up, the language and things like that. Whereas if I come to the U.S., I knew for a fact it would be a very easy transition for me. And what I cared the most about is I had things that I wanted to do. Yeah. And I didn't want, unnecessary obstacles or hardships along the way. I had things on my mind. I needed to knock them out, onto the next one. So we came out here and visited for a bit and just kind of visited family in different states and got a feel of different areas of the U.S. because they all have a different vibe, right? And I from the beginning felt very connected to Los Angeles. I think one of the bigger things, like everybody else says, weather, right? Yeah. But the weather is very similar to home, and when I say home, I mean Eritrea.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And I love that about it. And I have close family member here, and so it was a no-brainer in that sense. And it's been an amazing experience, and I'm grateful because I've been able to reinvent myself time and time again, and that's what brought me here, right?
Yeah.
Land of opportunities.
This is the best place to reinvent yourself.
I agree.
And, you can decide to completely reinvent over and over until you're satisfied.
I
and
agree.
There's just room for that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And when you come from a place where there's no room for that, you don't take that lightly.
I guess so. I'm just thinking coming from other states, but you're talking about a complete polar opposite of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, polar opposite is right.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to get into building a lifestyle brand?
It's a great segue to the recent conversation we just had in terms of, how do you build your self-esteem and your level of confidence and things like that. I was lucky enough to have that had instilled in me by my parents, right? And then to your point, you had mentioned that's a great thing, but not everybody has, that type of upbringing. And so for me, during the pandemic, I had spent a lot of time I like to spend time reflecting, like self-reflection, introspection, like personal development and things like that. Yeah. And I've always known that I wanted to build my own empire, a legacy, if you will. I wasn't certain what industry I wanted that to be in because I dabble in a lot of different things. But how I came about to creating this lifestyle brand is it needed to be something that was fulfilling for me personally, and what's fulfilling for me. So I just kind of started to backtrack based off of that. And what's fulfilling to me is helping people. I really like helping people. Like if somebody comes into contact with me, I really care for them to leave my presence feeling elevated than when they came in any way, that shape or form, then I can do that. And so I started to think, how can I create something that can do that on a greater magnitude? Because the way that I do it is just, the first-hand contact, like my personal experiences with me. But I wanted to be able to reach more people, especially at a time where uncertainty was at an all-time high. It was a really stressful time for everyone. And there weren't really a lot of things that were addressing the anxiety revolving around the uncertainty. And not only that, but just from a day-to-day aspect of things, like we naturally as humans, we tend to look for outside validation when we're not feeling like ourselves, just to kind of, pour back into us. Yeah. But I'm a firm believer that if you spend just a little time with yourself, just reflecting on your own life, there's a lot to pull from that. There's a lot of power to pull from that, because no matter who you are, if you sit down and like just think back, there's for sure there's obstacles that you've overcome in your life. You know, what those obstacles are for me may be different and a different magnitude than it would be for you or for you, right? But sitting down and thinking, oh, if I was able to overcome this and look at where I am in my life today, you can pull power from that. But we tend to forget. We don't do that enough. You know, we forget how we overcame the things that we did in our past. And so I wanted to create something that would be focused on self-empowerment, that would be focused on resilience, because we all are resilient. We all are powerful in our own ways, but it's up to us to tap into that. And I just wanted to create a shift where people would do that for themselves versus seeking that from the outside.
Yeah, because especially being an entrepreneur, you kind of want that sometimes, validation, because like you don't have a boss or anything to give you like, great job, props. You did you know, all of that. So
that's right.
It's even you saying that's a really great point, the whole pulling from your own experience, because it could be a very motivating, because you're the main character that you're pulling from, because a lot of times we're looking for outside source to give us that. So
correct. So that's how the whole focus of the brand is self-empowerment. That's how I came up to be. And then from there I went into, okay, let's think about, you know, what do I want my logo to be? What do I want it to represent? And so forth. And so I started out with Jigna, the logo, creating, like, you know, you go through your process. Yeah. But then, you know, once I found the right font that I wanted, it just speaks to you.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, right?
And so I was like, oh, this is it. And then, but I wanted to add a little bit more character to it and not just it be just Jigna. And so I'm like, all right, let me swap out the I for this jewelry with the Habesha jewelry that we have.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so I did that here. So just it has like a little bit of a character, and like it ties it back to its roots.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are non-Tirgrinya speakers, Jigna essentially translates into warrior. And so my brand is of the belief that each and every one of us are warriors in our own right, whether it is your warrior in love, whether it is your warrior in health, whatever your path in life has been, each of us are in our own rights. And so I felt like that was the perfect, it was very fitting.
Yeah.
For a logo. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess, how has it been creating a brand during a pandemic? And
because I was going to ask, being in the LA when to witness everything stop, because of course, you know, we're here in downtown, we're used to seeing you know, the heartbeat,
right?
But then, you know, everything just stopped flowing and there's nothing and nobody's
right.
It just seems unreal. What's your opinion on being here and seeing LA just come to a stop like that?
And so at the time I was also working full time, and it was a very demanding job where we had to, even when everything came to a full stop, we were still working out of the office. And so I remember driving on I think it was a 10 freeway and there was absolutely no soul. And we're talking, it wasn't even late at night. Wow. This is like regular business hours. Yeah. And it was such an eerie feeling. It was like, am I in an episode of The Walking Dead? Like, what is happening? It was such an eerie, I've been here 10 years. I've never seen LA like that. Yeah. And it's scary. I'm not going to lie to you. It's weird, but it's also very scary because, like, thank God, like, you know, we've come out of it a little bit now. But at that time, we didn't know how long that was going to last. It was a very scary experience. I hope we don't get to see LA like that again. Yeah. But I will say, I think that it was such a break for Mother Nature. It really was. Like, pollution was at an all-time low. So when you think of it in that aspect of things, yeah.
I did a lot of self-reflecting myself during the pandemic, and as you see, we're here.
There you go.
As far as doing the podcast.
This was born during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you have it.
And a lot of people, started something during the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to say it's a good point because it's so refreshing to see like how many businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, have been creating during the pandemic, and the number of those of which are women of minority is staggering. It's like 62% or something like that.
Wow.
And so it's very empowering. It's very refreshing. I hope we continue to move in that direction, because I feel like ownership is important, and I don't think we speak on that enough in our community, especially. It's very important to own your work. I don't care if it is intellectual property, own the rights to your music, just ownership, period.
Yeah.
And so it's very refreshing to see a shift in that in that area.
Yeah. So what were some of the challenges that you faced while starting a lifestyle brand?
For me, I will say early on in the beginning, it was time. And because I was working full-time myself, and then being an entrepreneur, as you guys know, at least early on for a while, you have to wear different hats. And so that was a lot. And then it's a creative outlet for me as well. And in order, it was tough not to be burnt out, because you can't afford to burn out when you have a creative outlet, and then you have so many things riding on it. So for me, managing my energy, making sure I wasn't depleted, making sure I was in the right mindset, because I don't take the message of the brand lightly. And so I do everything with extra care, with like how, being very careful of how it's going to be perceived. And I had to be in the right mindset myself. So that aspect of it was a little bit challenging to start. And then the rest of it, figuring out, everything was new for me, to be honest with you, like building a website, finding a supplier, and so on and so forth. But it was a good learning curve. Took it as a challenge, everything. Thank God for technology nowadays. Like, information is at the tip of our fingers. You just need to invest a little bit more time. And then I would say what helped during those challenging times for me was also surrounding myself with like-minded people. I find that very, very important. You'd be amazed at, what sparks an inspiration just off of being in the same presence of somebody, even if you did not sit down with the idea of, this is what we're going to discuss today. But if you're in the same wavelength and you continue to surround yourself with that, I think your trajectory, your upward trajectory would be a lot more smoother. And so that would be my takeaway. Yeah.
I guess I wanted to kind of go back to the holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Get a little education on, how that came about and everything, as far as the Eritrean holiday.
Yeah. Okay. I think we touched on it early on.
And then we're gonna come back.
It's probably be tomorrow when it airs, but it's May 24th. It is Eritrean Independence Day. And for those of you who don't know where Eritrea is, it's in East Africa. It is bordering Sudan, Ethiopia, and the Red Sea. It's a small.
I just want a little education out here.
No, I'm just.
So here's how I like to say it's at the Horn of Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, it's in the east, but it's a small country. So a lot of times, a lot of people, I'll always say, okay, you know where Ethiopia is, right? And we're like, oh yeah. So it's a neighboring country because we share a border.
Yeah.
And then it's right at the Horn of Africa. So it's like that's the quickest way to identify it on the map. And then I also would like to add, I think it's just, I don't know, I'm full of love today, just because of it's Independence Day and everything. And it's our 31st Independence Day. Our people had to fight for 30 years of struggle to gain their independence in 1991, which makes this a very, very special year.
Yeah.
I've seen a video that she's brought back before, and a lot of people don't know that it's kind of the normal upcoming of, almost all of Eritreans, the military training part. Educate us on a little bit on how you feel, as far, not necessarily how you feel, but just educate us on that, people that don't know that, of course, we go through regular high school, and over there you guys go through military training at a certain age, and
That's right.
How it prepares you.
How it prepares you for what?
How it would prepare you just for life.
It's like, I didn't have to go through
That part, right. So I know that you guys didn't have to go through it, but, you know, it's a part of the culture that's there.
That's right. So typically, don't quote me on it because I don't know as of today if it's changed in any aspect. So, but growing up, I knew it was you do your last year, like your college entrance exam for high school once you graduate, and then you go to Sawa, which is like where you have all the training and everything take place. I think it used to be a couple of months. I don't know if it was 3 or.
Thought it was like you do your last your senior year in high school in Sawa, basically.
Well, there was a period of time where they did that. That's right. There was a period of time where you did your 12th grade basically entirely in Sawa.
Yeah. As of, I guess, the last few years, I thought that's what they were doing, basically.
Yes, that's why I said don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
So
I had some family members that had to do it.
That had to do it, right? Yeah. Right, that's right. And, well, I'll say this. I do like that there's equality back home in Eritrea between men and women. Like, even when it boils down to military training, even our freedom fighters, like it wasn't just men that are celebrated that brought freedom to Eritrea. It's men and women, right. And those numbers are like neck to neck. And so there's great stories about it. But until this day, there's a lot of equality. You'll see women in heads, and whether it's politics in different areas. And the same way, like when you're doing your training alongside your male counterparts for something as what's the right word to use? I try to be careful about my verbiage. Something that's as challenging, I'll say, as military training.
Yes.
I think it would, that level of equality, like if you're being trained alongside your male counterparts, I think that would instill, like, you believe that you are equal as well. Granted, yes, not in every aspect of things, but in terms of your capabilities, right? Yes. And you're celebrated equally. And I think that is one positive takeaway from it, from the way that they had been doing things, I'll say.
Yes, I definitely see or put a lot of respect on it. Just period,
Right, right.
Yeah, on the topic of Eritrea, like, what's your favorite foods?
Favorite food?
Yeah.
Zigni.
Love
Zigni. And then I'm also I know probably not a lot of people will agree, but a very big fan of dulat.
Really?
Yeah.
I was an adult before I liked that.
See, that's what it is. My mom got me to like it. I didn't even know what it was. I by the time I figured it out, I think it's equivalent to chitlins.
Is it what it is? I'm like, is it tongue or is it? I don't know what
it's definitely the intestines, I'll say.
Oh, I did not know.
But I will say this: like, it was too late in the game for me by the time I figured out what it was. And so, because of how it's made, I cannot eat it unless my mom made it, because I know how my mom would like thoroughly clean everything and X, Y, and Z. But yeah, dulat and zigni were my top favorite ones, I'll say.
Okay, I think for me it's kitfo.
Oh,
for the longest, it was kitfo. I don't know if kitfo and gypC.
Oh, really? Oh, I love that. Why is that hard to find here?
Yes. Okay. Okay. That is my main complaint about LA. Since I've moved here, I haven't really been going out to Eritrean or Ethiopian restaurants because, well, they don't have any breakfast. I mean, that's not the only reason I'm not going, because, during the pandemic, a lot of them closed or they were like takeout or something like that. But one of my biggest complaint when I first moved here was like, they don't have any breakfast spots.
That's right.
And we've lived in DC, in Virginia.
Oh, you guys are spoiled.
And even Atlanta has a lot of restaurants, and they love breakfast. So I'm like, there's nowhere I can get breakfast here.
You're right.
Like, you can get gat in
in restaurants
yes, you can go to Kata or Aurora in Virginia or in DC and get like
I miss
gat,
full.
and you can I haven't eaten full.
I'll invite you guys over for full. I make a mean full, don't worry.
Yeah.
So a full is really, she should be able
she
to
said
make
she could
full,
do the full
because it's
too,
really
so just,
being from Saudi, like,
yes.
I'm sure it's
yes, I got y'all on full.
Okay. Yeah, I like the full.
I need to learn how to do that.
I couldn't get to the was a kitfo, but
Me too.
Yeah, he can't really do it. You can't either.
Me too. Yeah, it's a mental thing, I think, for me.
Even if it's
that's what I think for me
cooked.
too. Yeah.
If it's cooked, I would be able to, yes. But uncooked, I couldn't. I just couldn't get past that.
Yeah. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, kitfo is like steak tartare in
Pretty
America. It's raw meat. It is a specialty meat, and it has some spices, and you can get it like medium or like well done if you want to. But I like it raw or like just slightly.
But it's meant to be eaten raw, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
breakfast
good.
places. I can't tell you. I've kind of given up over the years, but like
Really?
I really went on a hunt because you said gypC, right? That's I think we call it gypC.
Yeah, I can make good efforts.
No.
Yes. And I have some.
Let's do a
cafe
trade-off,
right
man. Let's
yeah. All right, breakfast. You make the full. I make the
just made my day because I love it, and I know it's easy. Like I make all the other Habesha dishes, like the traditional stuff, that's Abhay stuff. And compared to that, like even my mom was like, "I don't understand how you make all this stuff, and you cannot make a child."
Yeah, that's the easiest one.
I couldn't get it right, and like you said, it was so difficult to find Habesha restaurants here that serve breakfast, and then once in a blue moon that you find them, it'll be like, oh, it's Tuesday, we don't do that on Tuesdays. Like, come on.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not the Tuesday.
So I just gave up.
Wow. I can make a lot of the veggie dishes, not really the meat dishes. I haven't really tried too many like tzabhi or anything like that.
I see.
What are your favorite restaurants here?
Good question. I will say Awash. That's on.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you guys know Awash.
Yeah.
Yes, I do love Awash a lot. And then Mercato, also one of my favorites. I do go to Masab, but I just like when if they're making coffee and things like that, like the actual Habesha coffee, I'll go to Masab for that. But for the most part, Awash and Mercato, and Marathon, were my go-tos.
I haven't been there.
So Marathon is also like one of the places that are it's right next door to Mesop, I think, 1 or 2 doors down.
Okay.
And it's easy to miss because it looks like a little hole in the wall. So not as flashy on the outside, but the food is great.
Okay.
Yeah, very authentic, and it's great. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was a regular there where they got used to me. So when you get injera to go. And they put the injera on the styrofoam like to-go thing, and then they put the tzabhi on it, but it soaks it in, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't really warm it up at home. It's not the same. Right. So I would get on the phone and I'd be like, can you please put the thing like the tzabhi by itself in a container and then the injera? I didn't understand it. Like we went back and forth for a while. So one time when I went in, it was like a grandma in the kitchen cooking, and she asked for me. She's like, tell her to come inside the kitchen. And I was like, yes. And she's like, are you the one who always calls and asks for such and such? I'm like, yes. She's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. He's like, I'm going to give you my container today. But she was like, next time you come in, let us know that it's you. Bring like your, what do you call them?
Tupperware.
A Tupperware.
Oh, wow.
She's like, bring a Tupperware and we'll hook you up that way. And I was like, I love you. Thank you.
That is what I like about, when I was growing up in Ethiopia, or even when you go to Eritrea, it's like there's certain conveniences that you don't have here. Like you can be getting your hair done at the hair salon and somebody will go bring you food from next door or coffee from next door.
Yes.
You don't have to like figure out the logistics. Like they know each other. They'll figure it out. They'll get it to you.
Yes.
They'll somehow get the money to the person. It's all, you could be at a restaurant eating and you can get your car washed or
absolutely. And I miss that.
Yeah.
Yes, you're so right. You
the
took
no
me back.
rules. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like that. I'm happy to say it's like that till this day. Like I was there 2 years. February of 2020 was the last time that I went home.
Okay.
It's still very much like that to this day, and I love it.
Yeah. You said 2020?
2020, yes.
Wow. So you've been there not too long ago. I think the last time in Eritrea for me was like 2010. Yeah. So it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
That was my last summer in Eritrea. Was 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Then what month were you there?
July and August.
Wow, we were there at the same time.
Yeah. I remember having to come back August for college or whatever. But yeah, it's that was the last time. And my dad was living there at the time. Now he's moved here since then.
Oh, nice. It's
And
good to have them closer, I'll say.
Yeah.
It's challenging for me. Definitely challenging. Both of my parents are there. And especially when you're used to, like I said earlier, thank God for technology, because we were able to FaceTime whenever we want to, and that makes you feel closer. Yeah. But, you know, we don't have reliable internet access in Eritrea as of yet. And you can't FaceTime, basically. You know, you'd be lucky if you're able to relay, you know, send some pictures and images and so forth. And so that aspect has been definitely challenging, I'll say. So it's good that you have your dad here.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
What part of Eritrea are your family from?
Asmara, they're both from the city.
Okay.
So we live, do you know where the American Embassy is? Or Santa Ana High School?
Man, it's been a while.
It's not far from. You can walk to Katama, like you can walk to the downtown area, like the Cathedral Church and stuff like that. It'll probably take you 20 minutes.
Okay,
it's fairly close.
You have those videos on YouTube.
I know. I actually have. In 2010, when I went, I just was doing a lot of videoing. So, like every time I would go on a ride with my dad. So I have like a city tour of Eritrea video.
Oh, lovely.
So if you want to see what it's like in 2010, there's a video on the YouTube.
Oh, I definitely am going to check it out tonight.
Yeah, and actually I spent, like a weekend or a week in Sawa, like when they're having the graduation thing. Yeah, so I did some videoing there as well.
That's awesome.
Their dance ceremonies and stuff like that. So.
I didn't go 2010, but I went to Sawa I went for a basketball tournament in, I think, 05. Yes, in 05 or 06. And then prior to that, I went and I just visited, which are two very different experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Somehow I get lucky. Every time I go to Eritrea, it's like when all of the expats from all over the world are coming.
Yes.
Which is kind of it's really exciting because the whole city is filled with expats and you get to meet people all around the world. Too.
It's very exciting, and that's how it was for us when we would go every other summer. And let me tell you, you do make some amazing connections and great friendships as well. It's a great way for, you know, the younger generation to come together, to get to know each other, more so also to get to know your culture and things like that. Yeah. So I think it's great that way, but have you ever seen Asmara like outside of summertime?
No.
It's a very different feel.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I've only went there in summertime.
In the summertime.
Yeah.
It's exciting and it's fun. There's a lot happening during the summertime, but I'll say like, and it's neither negative nor positive, but it just gives you a different experience when you go outside of the summer because you really get an authentic feel of the day-to-day life, the locals and stuff like that, you know? You get to pick up on those things.
When you said that, I don't know why I thought like, is that like Vegas in the daytime? It's like when people say, have you seen Vegas in the daytime? It's very different.
That's true.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest things or what are some tips, I guess you could say, for other people moving to California, like yourself? Yeah.
For people moving to California from?
Anywhere, Eritrea, or it could be from, you know, just the United States, or just, you know, your personal experience. Because we moved here about, was it 4 years ago?
Yeah.
4 years ago. So even as, you know, entrepreneurs or, you know, somebody that's pushing their own brand, what are some tips that they can basically expect?
As entrepreneurs and somebody that's pushing their own brand, all right. Well, if you're new to California, I think I'm going to go back and emphasize the importance of surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And let's say, well, not all of us are comfortable doing that in person. You know, some of us have social anxiety and things like that. So there's ways to do it even without having to put yourself physically out there. For instance, there's, let's say, as an example, you can use Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a great app.
We have to mess with Clubhouse,
for networking. I find it to be really useful. Really useful because Any other social media, like let's say we take Instagram, for instance, the kind of people that you're going to be connected to Instagram are going to be very similar to where you are in life. It's going to take you time to connect with somebody that's really well established and is on a higher platform than where you are if you're just starting off. But Clubhouse, you don't have that. Like somebody that is just starting off to build their website could be connected to someone that has, let's say, like 100K follower, or even like 1 million followers on social media, and are willing to educate for free and like answer your direct questions if you want to. How do I get from where I am to where you are? And so in terms of networking, I find it to be like unbelievably useful if you're using it further. Yeah. There's people that go there just to
that's all we
talk
use
shit
it for.
And stuff.
For us with social media right now.
Yeah. And
networking and promotion.
Right. And so those things make a difference. And then you can go from there. I'll speak from my experience. I've made some amazing connections on Clubhouse. And when you continue to cultivate those relationships, you can get to a place where you can take them off of Clubhouse and actually really collaborate in real life. Whether it is you need someone to help elevate you, and like maybe they might help you in what social media marketing looks like, or how to do better with your SEO, so you have better visibility and accessibility and things like that. The opportunities is unmeasured. It's up to you, like how you tap into it, how you maneuver, how much time you spend into it. Are you cultivating those relationships? And it's not just a take and go type of thing. I personally myself like to collaborate, and so even for things such as when I was doing my commercial for my brand, for instance, there's many different ways that I could have gone about it, but I chose to work with somebody that was also trying to build their portfolio. I know they were great at what they did, but it was more important for me to collaborate with them and then do cross-marketing with them, because yes, I'm grateful for working with them, but I also want to help elevate them and get them more visibility. And so they get jobs through, if somebody likes my commercial and the ads that they're doing for me, and they're like, oh my God, the shooting, the visuals, everything was amazing. Who did this for you? And then I'll recommend them. So I'm a firm believer in, if you're going to grow, let's grow together type of thing.
Okay.
And so that would be my advice.
Okay. On that note, like one of the things that we've kind of, so when you're first starting out a brand, it's like raising awareness is the hardest part, right?
Right.
Getting your brand name out there. Like, what are some things that you found helpful?
Okay.
Whether it's platforms or...
in terms of platforms for raising awareness, I will say Instagram has been the greatest for me, even more so than Facebook.
Okay.
So, and there's ways to do about it, even if you don't want to spend money in terms of paid ads and things like that. You can be strategic. And one thing that I like about Instagram is the analytics that it offers is very detailed. And that's stuff that maybe if it wasn't for Instagram, you would have to have a workaround to understand, well, how is this ad doing? What kind of visibility and reach am I getting? But it does all of that for you.
Yeah.
So you post something, I'm sure and then it'll give you the analytics based off of that one post, and you can gauge or readjust or adjust, moving forward based off of that information that you're getting. And so that is one. And then to take it back to collaborations, like I like to sponsor people that are doing great things that I believe in. And so I've come across people that have podcasts such as this, and they're centered around things that are very similar to my brand. And so even if they're not within the U.S., and for example, one of them is Habesha Connection, and they're based off of London. And so I sent them my gear, and I'm like, hey, like, would you, I'm a fan of your show. They were also a fan of my brand in a sense. So I was like, let me give this to you for free if you can wear it on one of your shows, and, because that will give you more visibility as well, because the messaging and the audience is essentially the same.
Yeah.
So that's another way that you can also expand on your visibility.
Great tips. Did you have any questions?
Not right off.
Is there anything you want to leave well, I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave you hanging. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we close it out?
I will say, okay, well, our 1 year mark is coming up, which will be on July 7th. And on July 7th, we're looking to expand the way that we do things by allowing our customers to collaborate with the brand. So for a lot of our products, I'm looking to allow our customers to personalize it, because I do get requests a lot for those. And I'm happy to do them myself. But if, I know there's a lot of the customers that are also creatives, and maybe they would like to do that on their own. And to me, the messaging and the design and everything, there's a lot that goes into it, but I want to allow people to have the option to personalize things, because really no two people are the same. So why not make something even more you than it might already be? And then we're looking to expand into home goods, mommy and me, so like baby outfits and maternity outfits and things like that, which I'm super excited about. So be on the lookout for that. Please do follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and do not hesitate. If you see something you like and you would like something added to it, personalized, tweaked in any type of way, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did have a question that kind of bubbled up, even for us as we're a couple and we're building a brand. Mm-hmm. How is the balance of building a brand? How important is it for when you're building a brand, to when you're dealing with someone else, your significant other, to be a part of your mission?
How do you get your significant other to be a part of your mission?
Or how important is it? Like I said, with your brand, what you have going, you need support for your brand. Of course, I'm not sure as far as your dating situation, anything, but for us as a married couple, we're pushing a brand by ourselves, and we know that it's very important that we support each other when having a brand.
Yes.
I try to tell people, of course, we tell people it's very important because, like I said, you have your highs and your lows.
Yes.
Then what are the importance? What do you see the importance when you're giving any tips when kind of finding someone to support your brand along with you? If it's your brand, it's not their brand, but as far as you have a mission.
And how does your partner
the balance. Or what's the importance of having a partner that understands that you're pushing a brand, and this as far as there's a very high level of support that's needed to support each other, or the challenges?
Personally, so I believe that it's very important on a moral level and an emotional level to have that level of support from your partner, because it can be challenging and it can be draining, and there's going to be hiccups along the way. And if you're like a very self-critical person, you don't want to, go on a downward spiral once those things come up for you. So I think it is important to have a partner that is supportive morally and emotionally. But personally for me, I don't necessarily need my partner to be all involved in my brand. I'm okay doing that solely on my own. What would help and what would be nice and what I've seen in my experience that I appreciate without even me asking is my partner will, if we're going somewhere, put on my gear because they want, and that's really, it's flattering, it's sweet, it's very endearing, because having to do that without me asking, because they want to get my brand out there, they want visibility, and they're doing that on their own. I think that in itself pours so much back into you. Like, it will give you, even if you're not feeling at your best or at your strongest or having certain self-doubt or something, stuff like that will help empower you and kind of bring you back to your center and your focus. But I'm more actually interested about how you guys make this work, because you guys are actually, you're working together. You're all in together.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of hustles together.
And it's been that thing, so, supporting each other and understanding, she supported my music, my number one fan, and that's kind of when I was trying to get it out there. It was like a hamster wheel, and it became a hamster wheel for both of us. So even in this podcast energy is something that she kind of started doing. So it's almost like that energy switch as well that I want to do. It like, all right, if we're going to do it like a recording studio, then or she's going to do the podcast, then let's, make it pretty presentable. Just, that we enjoy doing it.
Correct.
So that's what came with kind of a supporting it, and that's why.
You learn over time. It's funny. We talked to one of the guys' payroll. We did an episode on payroll taxes, and it's funny because like half of that episode ended up being like good advice, marriage advice, like married couple entrepreneurs, I guess how you call them.
That's interesting.
Couplepreneurs or whatever you say it. Because he worked with his wife. But yeah, you learn over time. Like, of course, you're going to have issues. Lucky for us, we get along a lot. But a lot of the times. But it's over time, you just get to learn how to work with each other. Because like I said, we've had so many different hustles. Like we used to breed dogs. If nobody knew that, we'll probably talk about that on an episode. But we used to breed Dobermans, and we've had other T-shirt brands, and now we're with this one.
We did the Ethiopian soccer tournament.
Oh yeah.
How was that experience? Because that's something I'm looking to get into myself.
That was pretty
tough work.
It was a good learning experience because we haven't really vended like that. Like we vended in a small event, but this one was big. And so like
2 weeks.
we actually like a week into it or some days into it, we had to order new stuff or we kind of had to keep readjusting, and we were ordering online.
But wait, is that a good problem? Because that means your stock was being depleted? Or
it is. Well, we did sell quite a bit of stuff there. So we're grateful
I was
for
printing
that.
up T-shirts
We
on
were-
the spot.
Oh, wow.
Even taking pictures on the spot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had photos set up.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
we
that's
just
a lot of
kept
work.
Moving stuff
adjusting.
around.
We just kept adjusting. So like we realized people really like photos. So initially we were like, okay, we have this merch, we have the table, we just set it up, and that's what we're gonna do. But then we realized a couple of days in, like, there's hundreds of vendors out there. And so like even where you are matters, where you are in the thing. So we weren't getting too much traffic, and then we just kept like reinventing. Like, okay, people really want pictures. He's a photographer already. We have the backdrop. So he legit went and set up the backdrop a couple of days in. Yeah. And after that, we had the heat press, and we noticed people want custom T-shirts. Like even the other vendors, like they have like a restaurant set up, and they want their logo on their shirt or things like that, or numbers of the players or something like that. Custom T-shirts. So we brought in next day. We'll bring in our heat press and the vinyl cutter too, right?
Yeah.
But you guys lived
the
in
printer
DC at the time, right?
Yeah, we lived in
I'm about
DC.
to say, because getting that press, how did you?
Yes, girl. And I was still working, and it was like, it was
Loading
chaotic.
and unloading every day.
Yeah, and then bringing the stuff, because you don't want to leave your equipment out there. So it was like every day you had to go back and forth, and we were like way down in the hall. So
Can't get your car in there to.
Nah.
Lord.
no.
Yeah.
So we just kept bringing more and more stuff. By the end of the week, we had like heat press. We were doing photography. Then if you want that photography on a shirt, we'll come back in an hour or so. We'll have it pressed up for
You
you.
guys were super
If you
efficient.
want
That is
custom
dope.
letters, some people wanted custom letters. We had onesies by the end of it. We were just buying onesies and
that's
putting in.
Yeah.
We had like by the end of it, and then I had like the brand was his Bowie, and I had made like a little design
Love it.
on Photoshop, and I was using that on different things. So like I would have like American-ish dress, and then I would put like eyelet and kind of like things you can wear to the store, to the grocery store, or whatever, just not necessarily for special events. So yeah, we just kept reinventing ourselves. So that's why I say it's a great learning experience, because even like learning like, oh, maybe you should order this, or maybe you shouldn't do this because it ended up costing you more than what you made from it. So it was a constant like tweaking of things and reinventing ourselves while we sold a good bit of stuff, and we learned a lot. So I say it's a success.
It's definitely a success, and like hats off to you guys, because it's one thing to be flexible and adaptable in general. It's another thing to do it on the spot.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you guys were able to adjust in real time and saw an opportunity like where the demand was and actually fulfilled it.
Yeah.
So that's a big win for me.
we were
That's
even
really
dropping
amazing.
off, doing deliveries, dropping off at people's hotel and stuff.
Oh
like
yeah,
Wow.
we were doing whatever. Like, being
that.
flexible.
It was a grind.
That's amazing. Were any of your stuff did you use like Amharic or Tigrinya letters?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
We had a vinyl cutter to where we could
Do it
vinyl,
yourself?
custom cut the
Yeah, we
letters
would
out
cut
and everything.
custom cut for people, and
And then press on?
even we had one shirt that was one love, but the one was the Giz letter one. I mean number one, and then love. I spelled it using Giz letters, but to make an English word.
That's dope. And were those being picked up? Did you guys feel like there was more interest because of where you were, the event?
It helped a little bit. Like we gotten some international sales after that. We don't have the store anymore since then, but I think it helped like get your name out there. And then the people who bought a shirt there or dress or whatever, now when they go back to their cities or countries, other people might see it and ask about it. So
that's right.
it spreads your stuff to
dope.
a lot of different countries. So it's a good idea.
Yeah.
One tip, people love kids and baby stuff.
Yeah.
They can't resist. I'm telling you, we basically had to like, that's why we had to like buy a lot more because we weren't ready for kids. We had a lot of adult stuff and we had some kids stuff, but we needed like a whole lot more kids stuff and onesies and all of this
Wow.
stuff.
So those were definitely selling.
Yeah, they're a hit. People can't resist onesies.
Yeah, they're adorable too. It's hard to
Yeah.
do that. It's really nice.
Yeah.
All right, I have one more question for you guys. I know, like you guys are the interviewees, but
No.
Feel free.
We
Yeah,
love when
we
people ask
appreciate
us questions.
Yeah.
because I find it fascinating that I don't think I don't think it's for everyone to work with your partner because it speaks volumes that you guys were able to do it successfully. It speaks volumes to your level of connection and things like that, right? And even for me, like back in the day when I would think of things like this, and I'm like, would I? Because I'm very business oriented and I always want to like dabble in different things, but I always felt uncertain about getting into business with my partner. And my number one reason for that is I don't want it to bleed over into our personal life. Like say we had a disagreement like in business. I don't want to take that home.
Yeah. And that's
how
the
do you
conversation,
maneuver?
I guess, the payroll guy.
Yeah.
I was saying, and that's you kind of got to.
You got to turn it off.
You gotta,
that was
that's
his
the
advice.
Yeah, that was his advice. Is you have to make that that place. You have your work, energy, and then when you go home, you just kind of got to turn it off. And
I see.
Because even for us, we've been together. Has it been almost 10 years now, or probably going on?
Way over that.
So, you just have to. Communication is everything. Understanding that you got your hard times, you got your good times, hard times, and understanding. Don't go to sleep mad.
Yeah,
I hear that.
Don't be scared to have
mad.
the hard conversations. Like I think a lot of people get scared to come out and say what's really bothering them or we have a super like open relation. That's not a good way to say, right?
we communicate. We have
communication.
It's not open. No. We're
very
not.
close. I know that's why I'm like, wait, quick, find a different word.
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but like I can talk to him a lot more transparently than I could with anybody, I guess, and that's very important for me because I'm pretty honest and transparent person, which if you don't find another partner that's like that as well, you can run into being taken advantage of. Very easy to take advantage of. So that was something right off when we met. I can trust that, it was
you
kind
felt
of
safe
I felt safe.
I understand that. Yeah, that goes a really long way. And it's funny because it sounds like it's it's simple, but it's really not.
No, it's not. It definitely took some time.
Yeah.
We've grown.
Right.
And you have to allow each other to change. Some people, you change naturally as you grow. Yeah, you have to evolve. Yeah, so even with her talking on this podcast, it's all like a new person from when we started. She used to be quiet. She, nobody would probably, I say 4 or 5 years ago, you probably wouldn't never think she'd be sitting here talking on a podcast to the general public.
Social anxiety and stuff.
Right. So I've seen that whole
evolution. I love it.
Transformation.
Yes.
And, I want more. I want to see more of the transformation. I want to see the complete bloom.
Yes.
So you have to want to see that complete bloom for the process.
Partner,
they're more looking at me like, okay, he's going to be the superstar music guy. It's like, no, that doesn't always have to be the case. If I have my superstar here,
that's right,
then I can support her the same way she supported my career. So you have to be open for that.
I love it. And I'm really glad I asked this question because I think it's important for other people to hear that. And that was a dope response. Thank you for your honesty, both of you.
Thank you.
I think that's really, really awesome and very aspirational. I like it.
Yeah, we've had a recent guest, Dr. Wright.
Craig Wright.
Numerology. And he's basically said we should have some more conversations that's kind of sharing that importance of how to communicate as a couple and how to be a happy couple and how to bring love back into certain foundations of relationships and growing from there versus and being able to pull a business together as a couple. A lot of times they say, okay, he has his thing, she has her thing, and you guys go to work and you do the thing. But sometimes you want to look at how can we spend more time together. So if we need to have the same business and work in the same place, that's how you enjoy, a certain way of you enjoying life with your partner a little bit better. And if you can make money together,
why not? And spend more time together.
Why
not?
Yeah.
I think that's dope. And you can create a whole, I'm more than happy to come back because I can speak for days on this conversation, the topic of conversation.
Yeah, I think we need somebody to ask us questions.
I'm happy to the table. But I also think it's very inspirational of what you shared about Luan because you had you said you had experienced social anxiety, right? And you've seen her grow from that to being on a podcast and running the show and things like that. I think it's very important to also touch on that because quite a lot of people actually struggle with social anxiety and there's not even enough conversation as it pertains to that. And so I feel like it would be very eye-opening but also inspirational. You're not limited. Yes, you have these anxieties, but you can work past that. Yeah. So I think absolutely, yeah. And kudos to you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely have a future as a podcaster. If you ever want to get into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but before we get ready to, and like I said, you're definitely always welcome. We appreciate you for coming in, physically talking with us, sharing positive energy and everything.
My pleasure.
And you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank
and
you.
We do as many podcast episodes as
Thank you so much.
The universe will allow us to do.
Amen. Thank you.
And definitely let them know where they can find your brand, find you, follow you, support you, and everything.
Okay. So on social media, on Instagram, you can find us. Our IG handle is _Jigna, JIGNA_tribe. And then our business page on Facebook is also the same. So _Jigna_tribe. Our website is jignatribe.com. And so feel free to visit us. Please do follow us. I would love to hear from you. I always love getting feedback in addition to the requests. I love connecting with my people and my tribe. And so I look forward to growing the community even more so and hearing from you guys. And thank you so much. This has been such an honor. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
And for the listeners, we'll have all this information on the description. You can find us at AmericanGypC.com. And we also have all the episodes on AmericanGypC.com as well as links to our merch. Consistent self-improvement merch at luamlee.com, as well as
we have music that you can check out under Classic, KLACCIK, Carpenter, CARPENTA. That's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and Tidal, all major platforms. You have some, some cello instrumentals, also some vocal stuff, and along with some regular instrumentals that we put on our YouTube channel, on some of our travel videos and things like that. So
yeah, definitely check out our YouTube channel. We don't only have podcasts, we have travel videos. If you're interested in LA and you want to see what LA is like, we have like biking videos. We take you around LA with a GoPro. Yeah. So subscribe.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our supporters, everyone that donates. Thank you to everyone that comments and shares. We really appreciate it. And consistent self-improvement to everyone. And peace.